appeared, and there wasn't a single man among them. Soon after, the women of this world died one after another. Daisy was the only woman left, and the search team is checking out the surviving women one by one. But to our surprise, the search leader told the woman's boyfriend, the organization is not interested in infected women. It was only then that Jeff realized. He saw the test serum. It was clear that Daisy had been infected, but even so Daisy remained calm. She was ready to pack her bags and go to the countryside, to see the place where she and Jeff first met, and so the two of them set off on their journey, to avoid any unnecessary inconvenience. Daisy was dressed as a man. The city was in a state of crisis. The once overcrowded supermarkets were scattered with expired goods. The two of them planned to grab some supplies and leave. But while Daisy was choosing something, Daisy's hat was suddenly ripped off. Jeff saw that something was wrong and ran over. Luckily, it was just a clerk at the supermarket. Jeff threatened him with a weapon. He asked him to keep his mouth shut. Then everyone will be fine. After traveling half a day's journey, they came to a restaurant to eat. But before they could eat a few bites, there was a news report on TV. The organization announced that if you send a healthy woman to make a certain contribution to mankind, they would get $2 million. Jeff had a bad feeling about this. Even though Daisy was infected with the virus, he needed to prevent others from taking Daisy. The two of them left the restaurant. But what they didn't realize, they were already being watched. But one thing led to another. Daisy's ear had begun to bleed. According to reports, once the bleeding starts, she had a maximum of 5 days to live. Daisy was in a state of panic. She vented her powerlessness at Jeff, and ran away alone to cry her heart out. I don't know if she ever regretted walking out the door. After a day's driving, they were in the middle of nowhere, and fell asleep with a sense of loss. Jeff woke up the next day to find that Daisy had disappeared. Just as he was about to go out to look for her, there were already 2 men outside. It turned out that they had been following him all the way, in order to capture Daisy and send her to the organization. The 2 men immediately coerced Jeff. They asked him about Daisy's current whereabouts, but Jeff refused to give in. He even told Daisy to run away. Daisy came back just in time. When she saw that Jeff had been captured, she also rushed to run for her life. The men behind her heard the commotion and chased after her, but Daisy found a hiding place. She managed to escape from the men. They managed to escape to the place where they first met. This is the place where they witnessed their love. This is where the movie ends. We're still very confused. A friend on the sidelines trudged over. The woman was about to be concerned when she was startled. Her friend's entire ear was bleeding. Daisy immediately asked about the situation, but her friend suddenly fainted. The two of them rushed their friend to the hospital, but the hospital was in a state of panic. Just as they arrived at the hospital, a large number of patients appeared at the same time, and they all had the same characteristics. Every patient was a woman, and they were all bleeding from the ears. Jeff had a bad feeling about this. He grabbed Daisy and got out of there, but Daisy was very confused. Jeff told her about the phenomenon, and Daisy finally realized something was wrong. When a hospital has a large number of patients, there's a good chance there's an outbreak of some kind of virus. The road back was a mess. The two of them rushed to buy their suits. They still don't know what they're facing, but they know one thing for sure. They need to at least clean up the house now, and take precautions. Jeff knew that Daisy was the most unsafe person in the house. That's why he made her a plastic barrier. It's the only way to keep the virus out. Only after they'd cleaned everything up did they sleep. Daisy had just woken up the next morning to find that the house was already full of diaphragms. It was obvious that Jeff hadn't slept all night. He kept cleaning up until Daisy woke up, and made a trip to the grocery store early in the morning, and stocked up on supplies in advance. But Daisy was still at a loss, and then she got a phone call out of the blue. The caller said the city had initiated emergency measures. All women are not allowed to leave their homes without authorization. While the two of them didn't know what was going on, the news came on the TV. It turns out that due to the destruction of water resources, bacteria and viruses have suddenly mutated. There's a disease that only women can get, and it's airborne. The news is urging women to stay home. When an antidote to the virus is developed, then everyone will be safe. And so Daisy waited at home every day. But as the month wore on, the situation on the outside still hadn't improved. Even more women were dying of the virus. It was clear that the world was in chaos. Daisy was sick of it, and Jeff was still doing his best in order to protect his girlfriend. He went home every day to take precautions. That day he went to the store to buy weapons for defense, but he heard an unexpected news. Because there are fewer and fewer women in the world, the human race is also facing reproduction problems. There are organizations asking healthy women to come forward to contribute to the reproduction of mankind. Jeff was disturbed to hear this, which means his girlfriend Daisy is at risk of being taken away. Daisy was still in a state of despair. She's been at home for a year, and for a year, she had little or no contact with anyone, until one day the silence was broken by a phone call. Daisy's father sent her a video out of the blue. The cautious Jeff took immediate action. He masked the camera on his cell phone, and told Daisy not to make a sound. If the outside world knows that she is healthy, then she would most likely be taken away to reproduce human beings. After Daisy agreed, Jeff was willing to connect the video. Her father told her that the house was raided today. Daisy's mother had been taken by the organization. He blames himself for not protecting her. He can't imagine what she's facing. But looking at her father's saddened state, Daisy Daisy couldn't hold back her voice. Jeff rushed to grab his cell phone. No one knew if anyone was watching behind his father's back. In order to protect his healthy girlfriend, he wanted to prevent her from contacting anyone, but Daisy was already devastated. After a year of hiding in the house, now that her mother has been taken away, I'm just trying to comfort my father. If I can't even do that, what's the point of living? Jeff tried to persuade her, but a devastated Daisy took up arms against him. She accused Jeff of controlling her for a year, and told him to stay away from the house. Jeff was frustrated. He saw that Daisy was still angry. He had to turn around and leave, but as soon as Jeff walked out the door, Daisy took out her suit, and walked alone towards the roof of the building. She wanted to see the world as it really is now, even if it cost her her life. And as Jeff walked out the door, he saw the snow falling outside. He knew something was wrong with his girlfriend. By the time he got home, Daisy was gone. He immediately followed her. He went to the roof of the building, but by now Daisy was ready to go. By the time Jeff got behind him and tried to talk him out of it, Daisy had already taken off her suit. The ultimate effort was lost. Daisy was probably infected with the virus. Jeff went back inside and was distraught. Daisy looked very calm. She bashfully took out a test agent to test herself. However, just as the two were waiting for the results, there was the sound of a search party coming from outside the house. Jeff immediately hid Daisy under the bed, so that she wouldn't be captured by the search party to breed human beings. Soon a team of people came in. After carefully checking Jeff, they searched the entire house, listening to the sound of the team tapping on the bottom of the bed. Jeff was in a state of panic, and then the captain told him,